So you want to leave your W-2. I'm going to share a little bit of reality for you in this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by, and if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Well, today is Saturday, October 26, 2024. It's actually almost midday. It's like 11 o'clock as I'm attempting to document this segment. And I actually thought about doing this segment yesterday evening. And really, today it kind of encapsulates a bit of reality check that I want to share with you. If you are one of those who are fed up with your W-2 and are looking to leave it for something else, particularly going out on your own and whatever it may be in that personal enterprise. Since I'm in the gig economy space, primarily in the gig economy space, because over 90% of my money earned is through gig food delivery apps, gig last mile delivery apps, and brokered opportunities. Over 90%. We're talking actually somewhere about 93%. And I think I can at least, if it's not about gig economy, I can kind of at least translate some of that into other 1099 exploits, ventures, enterprises. So I get that you're fed up with working a routine shift. I get that you're fed up with perhaps a supervisor micromanaging and looking over your shoulder and having you to look over your shoulder. I get that you've fed up with the inconsistent personalities on the job, although that's human life. I get that. I get that when you're on the job, one day, one moment you're praised, the next minute you're trashed, and you may be a heartbeat away from being fired. And then the pay. Well, suppose it all depends in that you may be in a W-2 situation where you're actually paid all right, but the environment is so counterproductive, toxic, and whatever, that you'd rather have your sanity and your peace than anything else. And that's really something that money can't buy. And then you figure that, well, you know what? I'd rather fail on my own than to keep putting up with this. And that may be true. Now, I talk from the standpoint that I've been primarily 1099, primarily in personal enterprise for the better part of 20 years. And depending on your situation, the ups and downs of being a 1099, pursuing that personal enterprise, or what they will say is entrepreneurship, it may be rewarding, but it may also be stressful. And so what's popular now, and I could be wrong, but what's popular is that folks see and folk are doing this on the side, but they're like, you know what? I'm making good money. I'm making almost as much as I'd make on the job, and while this may help me get ahead, I'm tired of dealing with the W-2 situation. I may be better off just going all out with the gig economy work. And so I get that what happens is that you feel like you're in a situation where you have to swim. Sinking is not an option. And that may be the right mindset to take in pursuing it. And then sometimes you've got folk who are a bit timid, and so they'll stick their little toe into the water. Then they may stick all their toes into the water. Then they may stick a foot into the water, but not all the way up to the ankle. Then they go up to the shin, and it's a process. And that may be the right way to do it. You gradually work your way into that. And then again, some of us don't have that option. You just got to you jump into the deep end, and you just got to start kicking your legs, and you use your arms to stay above water until you get to a point where your confidence is in such a level where you can float with some confidence. Now, I said all that in that I'm really setting up something that I've shared throughout the year, in that I've been rather consistent with also sharing some personal moments of, I guess you say, accomplishment or effort or profitability. But I've also been consistent in saying how the market out there, there's something about the market that just isn't right. It's not like 2023. I'm not even going back to 2022 or 2021 or 2020. I'll just make the comparison to 2023. There's something about the market throughout 2024 that is in which I've not had any comfort about it. And I think I've been right. And the month of October has really encapsulated exactly what I've been feeling all year. Now, personally, I feel as if my year peaked in June. June was the last month in which I reached a number that had been my benchmark of earning $10,000 or more. Since June, my income, my revenue has been like this. It went from 10,000 and change in June to 9,000 and change in July to 7,000 and change in August and September, and in this month, I'm just over $4,500. But yet, if you look at what I've done for the year, it looks like it's been very good. But I've had in some private conversations where what I was sharing with someone was that while the numbers may seem good and they may seem to compare to what they were in 2023, I've been looking at the trends, and the trend was pointing downward. And I was right. I said that they would intersect in October, and they have intersected to where the numbers are like this. The downward number, which would be representative of my right hand, is 2024. And the upward number, which is my left hand, is 2023. But what does this have to do with the question of you wanting to leave your W-2? What I'm doing is posing to you some reality, some things that you may want to take into consideration when you make that decision. And I mentioned that today is Saturday, this is Saturday, October 26, 2024. And it's around midday. Nothing. My phone has been relatively silent. No last mile gig delivery opportunities. The gig food delivery opportunities that I've seen so far have all been rather laughable. I've sat on the sidelines in which I just didn't go out and do anything 6 days. And this may be the 7th day. Depending on how I feel over the next, once I get finished completing this particular segment of the Gig Geezer. I put in altogether now 8 half days. So that translates into a total of all the parts of 10 days out of 26, roughly 40% of this month in which I've really not put in what I would say is full-time, max effort. And that translates for me, based on past trends, about $3,500, at least $3,500 of lost income. That's right. So when I say I'm at $4,500 for the month, I know that the knock against me is that I don't show all my work. I don't showing up at the stores. I don't show the apps or whatever that I'm doing, and I don't show the deliveries. But I have from time to time done that. But when you're in business for yourself, when you have months like this, well, there's got to be some other things going from you. I mean, yes, there's the possibility of having residual income, and that's a good thing, and that's something that we all should work towards, where we have other money working for us. But what if you don't? Because when you're pursuing that 1090, when you make that transition from a W-2 to 1099, there's a very good chance that you don't have that type of setup where you have residual money. So then what do? It may be a situation, if you literally have to jump into the deep end, you may not have a war chest of money to work with. The rule of thumb, they say, is when you go off on your own, you should have 6 months of money, a war chest of money, which would be 6 months, the equivalent of 6 months of your income earned, to be able to withstand the first year. That's ideally what they're talking about. But the fact of the matter is, if you're in a market like right now and you have to tap into that money, eventually you got to make some money to replace that, or you're going to be out. So the fact of the matter is that when you are in business, your goal is to be out there every day earning money. Your goal is to be earning money every day. And so what if the money isn't coming in? This is the reality. So I understand from having been a 1099 that there's a certain amount of security that you have with doing it. And maybe in today's market right now, it would not hurt to hold on to the 1099 and just gradually work your way out. But if you just have to just absolutely positively have to get away from the W-2, just be mindful of some of these things. Just be mindful of some of these things. These are the realities, because when you go out there, you know, I'm ready to make it happen. I'm ready to make it happen. And then you look at the apps, and ain't nothing coming up on your phone worth considering. And then if you make the decision to do some of those bad ones, and then you go through the experience of working those orders, and you realize this ain't happening, man. I mean, I'm paying them to do their stuff. What do you do then? What do you do then? And so there's no cookie cutter answer for things like this. There really isn't a cookie cutter answer. So that's why I'm speaking in somewhat of a paternal voice about this, in a paternal tone. When I went out on my own as an insurance agent in 2003, having been a captive agent in a situation where basically I did have like initially a salary plus commission pay structure, and then it went strictly commission, I knew then that I had to go on my own. But in 2003, there was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok. No. In fact, with the cellular phones, there was no text messaging just yet. There were still beepers, okay? So that should tell you how it was just 20 years ago. And so if you wanted to learn something, you pretty much still had to go to the library and check out books. And even then, I didn't do that. I pretty much learned the hard way, being out here. And it took me almost 2 years to build up a certain amount of as earned income to sustain me. Now, in my situation, 20 years ago, I was also married, and I had and my ex at the time earned decent money for the time, and that kind of kept things going, and it allowed me a chance to finally catch up. But you may not be in that situation. So then what do you do? One last thing I want to impress upon you before I conclude this particular segment of the Gig Geezer. You come out here, as I mentioned, you don't see much going on. What happens a lot of times is that you start out your day, and all of a sudden you realize by 11 o'clock, at least half of your day is over. You start out your week on Monday thinking that you're gonna finally make it happen, and then you hit Wednesday afternoon, you realize a little over half your week is over. You realize that when you're in business for yourself, you're always having to look ahead. And so the thing that always kind of bummed me out or encouraged me was that by the time I reached the 10th of the month, I'm pretty much having to start thinking about the next month. And then there's you still have bills to be paid. And then this repeats the following month. So while it's easy to say that, again, you have to have something to put aside, you may want to look towards having residual income. When you're starting out, that may not be the case. And so I'm not discouraging you. Again, I'm not discouraging you, but I'm also trying to get you to see some things that you may not see. And hopefully you may hopefully you may consider what I'm saying, so that you may not make some of the same mistakes that I made starting out. And so with that, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.